This program is financially supported by the fundings from the European Commission.
You are listening to the Ebu Access Cast, the first official podcast from European Blind Union about assistive technology for blind and partially sighted people. And here are the hosts.
Hello and welcome to the 15th episode of the Ebu Access Cast. My name is Tanya Kleut and I'm here talking from Luxembourg. We have with us Mario Percenic, also from Luxembourg. Hi.
Hello.
And we have Pavel Masarczyk from Poland.
Hello.
Hi. Bart is not here with us, but hopefully will be next time.
He's busy with his daughter.
Yes.
So he has an excuse.
For sure.
What's up, guys? Do you have some new devices or?
There is something small that I have. It's not really a device, but it's nevertheless handy, especially for blind people, I would say. It's a harness for mobile phone or any device that records camera things, so picture or sound or picture and sound. The idea is that you put this harness over your head so it rests on your back. It's like the things that you attach to your trousers when you're a child. And at the top of it, so like at the level of your chest, you have a casing in which you can close anything that you use for recording. So you can close your phone, you can close your camera, your GoPro, or your sound recorder even. It is quite tight. I even rode on a bike with it, so it's quite secure. We had a couple of road bumps and it survived. So the idea is that the camera of your phone or the mics of your recorder are facing outside. You don't have to hold it, and you can safely and easily record anything that's around you or broadcast it via any messenger. So it is quite handy if you want to do anything with Be My Eyes or ask anybody for help with a video call, because you don't have to hold the phone, you just use your body as a sort of camera stand. And if somebody tells you move a bit to the right, you move your body to the right, you tilt a bit or thrust forward with your chest. And this is even handy for OCR. If you do something like seeing AI recognition or Envision AI, I tried it. You can position your body so that the camera points directly at the text. And what you can also do is you can open the casing a little bit so the phone still stays inside, but it opens in front of you as a sort of a table. So you can put your hands on it and, for example, type in Braille without really holding your phone. So I think it's really convenient when you're either on the road or especially at home, because then you are the safest. But on the road, the phone is tight enough in this casing that it would need a bit of power from somebody to take it away from you or do any harm. So it's not that easy to just come by and steal it or anything like that.
Okay.
So I think, it's quite a convenient gadget. It's not very expensive. I can't recommend any particular company because there are many smaller companies selling this. You just have to look on Amazon or eBay or at your local phone accessories or camera accessories shop. Mine is, I think, McLean and cost me around 12 euros. So they are not really expensive, and most clerks would know what you're looking for. So this is a quite handy gadget that I got myself as a birthday present.
Okay, sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, and indeed, as you say, very handy for us if we want to use it with Be My Eyes or
even for navigation, because then you can hold your cane and you can hold your shopping bag and you can just listen by to the navigation instructions and use some Siri, Google Assistant to control the device a little, or voice control if you will on iOS 13. Yeah, so that's also handy for things like that. So it's a nice one.
Okay,
that's
great.
cool.
Yeah. Okay.
On my side, nothing new for this month.
Okay, on my side too, for the moment, still. But Christmas is not so far, so we'll see. I wanted to comment with you the latest update of iOS 13, because besides many accessibility improvements, there are still a lot of bugs in the version that I have, which is at the moment the 13.1.2. And unfortunately, still I'm experiencing that VoiceOver is crashing or slowing down in some situations, like reading emails, or when I'm typing Braille, it is not consistent with a VoiceOver. It is not reading well what I'm typing or deleting. there are still many issues, and I'm really disappointed that at the version that I have, they are still not resolved. What are your experiences? Yes.
What I find really interesting, though, is that I think it wasn't so long ago when the public beta program started, and I thought it was done so that more users could participate and more users could hunt for the serious bugs. And ironically, it looks like since the public beta started, the more critical bugs still remain in the final releases. Maybe it's not really related, but funny coincidence nevertheless. Here on the iPod Touch that I have, the one that I found was a translation error in the Polish version where letters, when you switch back on the keyboard from digits or symbols to letters, it's translated as letters, but the letters that you send via post, because somebody didn't see what the string they were translating relates to, so they just put this kind of letters from the context.
Man.
This happens a lot. We had this in the past that, for example, the clear button on notifications was labeled as no clouds because somebody thought that clear means like clear skies for the weather. So a lot of, I don't know who's translating it right now, but it seems like they're not seeing what context they're translating in, and things like that come into final releases.
I would say that this is happening because probably they're using lots of machine translator, and that's why these kind of things are happening. Because I cannot think that if you would have a human translator doing this, especially if the person is...
If you know the context.
Yeah, and if the person is efficient in the language...
It would be impossible, yes. But if you don't know the context, I guess maybe it could happen, but I think you're right. I think most of the translation are done via automatic translation.
So I guess this is why it's happening.
Yeah, probably. And this kind of errors keep appearing from time to time. The one that a lot of my friends complain about is the famous one where when you end a FaceTime call or a phone call, suddenly you're out of sound of your voiceover. Apparently there is some kind of problem where iOS can't decide which channel to stream the speech through. Is it the call or is it already like a regular speech channel? And as a result, you can't hear any sound and you have to restart your iPhone forcibly to get it back.
Yes. Yeah, I had to force restart the iPhone after so long because it crashed completely, voiceover, and I couldn't turn it off, even though I sort of turned it off with Siri, but it was still speaking and it was incredibly slowed down. So it was first time after so long that I had to force the restart. So I hope that we will soon see some improvements in this sense. But what I personally like is, for example, the haptic touch, which I found really handy in noisy environments. Maybe you like it or not, but in noisy environments, I think it can be really...
I don't think the iPod really has the hardware to support that, so I can't comment on this, but I can imagine this is pretty handy.
True.
Yeah, because you don't have any information besides the sound. When you're in a noisy environment, it's handy to have it.
Yeah, it's a lifesaver, I guess.
Yeah, I have to say that on the Android side, we have the haptics for a long time, and personally, this is the feature which I really, really like. There are some people who are turning it off for whatever reasons, but personally, I find it really, really useful because there are situations where sometimes you would work in some application or something, and then let's say some tiny part of the screen would not be spoken by your screen reader of choice, but still the haptics would give you the sign that something is going on the screen. Or the other thing is that, for example, how I like to use the haptics is the fact that when I'm typing, I'm using the Braille keyboard for typing, but I made the keyboard echo on the phone to announce just the words when I'm finished with typing. But during the typing, if I typed each letter, my phone would signal that the letter has been typed by a very small haptic sound, so I know that the letter was correctly inputted or the letter was typed, so that helps as well. And I really like the haptics.
Yeah, another one that I liked in iOS 13, I'm really sad they took it back somehow. I don't know why they removed it. Was the context menu on the router? Because the iPod doesn't support 3D Touch, and this way I was cut out of the shortcuts on the app icons, where you could quickly access some features. So they had it in iOS 13.0, but then in 1, I think they somehow got rid of it, and now it's not coming back. I don't know it's for good or whether it's going to be back again at some point, but it was a handy one because I could access it.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to say I updated my iPad also to the new iPad OS, and so far I found that it's not crashing that often as the iOS thing. But I found that, for example, some options, some voiceover options, such as the rotor stuff and the options to change the TTS voices, is not so intuitive as it used to be before. Like, for instance, I wanted to change the voice, and like it was like, yeah, is it here? No. And then it was like I installed Alex to try it out how it works on the iPad. So when you go in the settings and you choose the voices, it says like 800 megs something because the size of the Alex is like 800 megs. And it was like, what? Do I have to click on that or not? And yeah, eventually if you click on that, then it starts talking with the Alex voice, but it doesn't say, oh, Alex, and click on that. Because you can click on both of the options. Like there is Alex and there is like 800 megs. And
yeah, it should say that it is a button, but it doesn't say.
Yeah. So
it is not intuitive.
That's kind of a bit confusing, but yeah, let's hope that it will be fixed. I was personally hoping that those bugs will be resolved in the 13.1 because the original 13 came like 10 days before. But eventually, yeah, as we can see, the bugs are still here. And I remember hearing from people also that people are having, on the iPhones, that people are having volume issues with their ringtones. So, for instance, like right now, the volume of the voiceover is the same as the volume of ringtone. So if you're like turning the voiceover up to hear something, your ringtone volume will turn up as well. And that's kind of really like annoying because your phone can start blasting around really, really loud, and sometimes you don't want to do that.
I think another one is also, I don't know if this is in all voices or just the Polish ones, but if you put your synthesizer either too loud or too fast, I think volume was the issue, some letters get cut off for some reason, and you can't understand the synth properly anymore.
That's something I also noticed on the iPad, by the way. Yes.
You have to keep it at a certain volume to make it behave normally.
I noticed that with some of the voices as well, and I assume that this is something to do with how they changed the distribution of the audio through the different channels. So yeah, it should be fixed as well.
Yes, absolutely. The second news that I would like to discuss with you today is the Microsoft announcement that Windows operating system will not be anymore in their main focus. Which was quite shocking for me, as I'm using Windows from 96, 7, when I was a child. And they say that application services and hardware will be their main focus now. What do you think, guys?
Well, I would say that, yeah, this is true, that Satya Nadella said that they are not going to put the main focus on Windows anymore because slowly they want to shift towards the cloud and they would like to, well, basically see the expansion of Windows to the other platforms. But yeah, I mean, Microsoft is a company that used to say lots of things, but at the end, I don't think that this will happen very, very soon. And in fact, they are aware of that because if we look at the usage of the Windows around the world, especially in the corporate environment, when you're using Windows or whatever operating system is being used in the corporations, the changes are not going to come fast. Not at all. So I don't think
we can just wonder what's the future.
Well,
now.
I mean, we can wonder what's the future, but the thing is that the Windows are still going to be around. They are not going to disappear. What I think is that we will see, and that's basically what's happening, is that some services are going to become more and more cloud-based, and this is the fact that we can see, for example, with the Office 365, which we can now use in the desktop environment, or we can use the Office Online. But and we can see that Microsoft is slowly trying to reconfigure their role in the mobile market, because they realized, oh yeah, we screwed it up badly a few years ago when we didn't take the Android system for our devices, because they were pushing up the Windows Mobile, and that turned out really badly for them. Even when they bought the Nokia brand, nothing eventually changed in terms of the usability and the amount of users who were using it, because eventually there were lots of people using the iOS already and Android, so nothing changed in that. So what Microsoft announced now, and what we can see in the newer Windows 10 releases, is that they are slowly integrating support for Android devices into the Windows, and eventually they also what they announced a few days ago was that they will release next year 2 hardware devices, one of them is basically the Microsoft version of the Android device, which is called Surface Duo. And basically Surface Duo will be like a smartphone which is foldable with 2 screens, which will use the Android. We don't know any information yet whether it will use the stock Android or whether is it going to be modified. There is also no price points at this point, so we don't know how much the device will cost. But yeah, I mean, they are trying to establish themselves again in the mobile market, and that's okay. The another device which they announced is kind of their tablet, Surface tablet, new one, which is called Surface Neo, and that Surface Neo will use something called Windows 10X. So basically the Windows 10X is like kind of stripped down, modified, whatever version of the Windows 10, which will just work on those devices. So it will not that Windows 10X will not be compatible with any PCs and the other computers. So, I wouldn't worry that much about this kind of shocking news. Yeah, it's kind of shocking at first, like, yeah, Microsoft will abandon Windows, but no, this will not happen at a certain time for sure. I mean, we never know exactly what will happen, but I'm sure that for the next 5 years, the Windows 10 will stay as the operating system we know more or less. Yeah, they're changing it from time to time, and adding and removing some features. But no, I don't think that Windows will go away anytime soon. Besides, as I said, the fact that the corporations are using Windows, that depends a lot on Microsoft. And Microsoft is getting a huge amount of users who are corporate users. So, if they decide to stop with the development or remove Windows from their core, well, that's gonna be really, really difficult. And eventually, I mean, speaking of the user's perspective, let's take into account the situation where Windows wouldn't exist once. And if you are using the assistive technologies, you can use the Mac with the VoiceOver, but the accessibility of the overall applications is not the same as it is in Windows, especially if you are working in schools, if you need to do lots of office work, where you need to be really precise and productive. The VoiceOver in the Office apps on the Mac is not efficient as a Windows screen reader, and that's a fact. That's not just my opinion. That's the opinion of all the people who are using the assistive technology and who know something about the assistive tech industry as well. So, yeah, I mean, we will have to see what's going on and monitor. But yeah, Windows are not going away.
What they also announced some time ago is that, or maybe it was a projection by many analysts, that Windows 10 will be the last version of Windows as we know it. So there will be no Windows 11 or Windows something next, but just Windows 10 getting its usual yearly updates. And I think the effect will be that there will be still a team of programmers working on Windows 10, and pushing the new updates, but they will not do a lot of probably promotion, or as I said, there will be no new Windows as we know it, maybe no next Windows, it will be just 10.
That's possible. Yeah, that's possible. I mean, this announcement was like, for like long time, even since the
as
Windows
soon
10
as they published the
Windows 10,
Windows 10, launched Windows 10.
Yeah, and they still develop it, and for the time being, they introduce new features. I'm really looking forward to that one where you can receive and make your phone calls on the Windows laptop or computer. This is a really nice one. They are introducing it. It's already in the slow ring, I heard, and people who use the Your Phone application, the phone assistant of Microsoft, can try it out apparently already. So,
yeah, I mean, I have to say that when we are speaking about the Windows versions and the versions that we used to use, like my first one was Windows 3.1. So I can say that I'm really happy with Windows 10 and the way how it works. And basically, if you remember, and I think you do remember, the situations where, when we were using even the XP and the 98 stuff, you would see a lot of the program is not responding, the kernel has crashed and stuff. No, Windows 10 is stable in that fact. There are situations where always the app crashes, but in overall the operating system is stable. So
I haven't had a blue screen in a while. That's true.
Yeah.
The next topic is Seeing AI updates. So there are some news, 21 languages in short text, which is very convenient for us in Europe. But availability of languages will depend also on voiceover languages. Did you try to scan something, Pavel?
Yes, in fact, I found it actually working better with Polish ever since I switched over. The problem with automatic recognition, and this I think is related to any app, not just Seeing AI, is that it tries to identify the language and it tries to assign the proper character encoding, but it's not always working. So what I would often have with automatic recognition is that the Polish national characters would be either skipped or misread as something else, as digits or as punctuation. Mm-hmm. So I'm really happy to see it now working as it should. And what I even tried is I took a box of something. It was a product, I think some kind of coffee. And I was sitting on my bed with a window that is not really straight. It's sort of perpendicular. So the light is not really proper, I would say. It falls under some kind of angle. And I didn't even try hard. I just waved the iPod a bit above the box. The ground wasn't even on that, there were things on the bed and so on. And it read the label properly. And I was really happy to see that. I didn't even try really hard, as I said. So it just read the instructions, how I should prepare it, the name, what it consists of, and so on. I was really impressed. And I even tried with some content where there were multiple languages. And it even recognized that there are Russian letters on it. So I switched over to Russian and it read the Russian text just fine. Mm-hmm. And then I also tried, I don't know if it also improved things, but scanning 2 pages of a book. And I was really impressed with that as well, because I managed, after a couple of attempts, to actually have 2 pages of a book, the left and the right side, properly scanned in. And I had everything in there, the headings, I had the page numbers copied properly, and there were no typos. So yeah, I think it's really, really well developed now as it stands.
Yeah, that's great. My experience is also very good. Besides that, unfortunately, Croatian is not supported by VoiceOver. But from the languages that I scanned, it worked very well. And also, what is very handy is that now supports Siri shortcuts. So you can assign a Siri shortcut and go directly to a specific channel that you would like to, channel of Seeing AI.
Yeah, that's so cool. Now you can set up your magic words for every single channel.
Yes.
Yeah, what's in there, what's in my hand, and so on. Yeah, that's really handy.
And then there is a similar application, Seeing Assistant Home, developed by Transition Tech SA. Is that the name?
Yeah, Transition Technologies.
Technologies SA. Mm-hmm. It's a Polish brand. So what are the news?
Yeah, they introduced a couple of new things recently. They keep developing it rather strong, I would say. There are new betas appearing all the time, and it's really promising. For one, I think both versions, definitely the Android one, has a mode now, because normally the app has different features. It has a color detection thing, it has a light detection, it has a magnifying glass, and it also has a barcode reader. It can read QR, it can read barcodes on the products. You can even print your own barcodes to put on boxes or CDs or anything you need to label your stuff. And what it would usually do is, if you scan a code and it finds a match, or it finds something, because you can also program your own labels for the codes that you printed yourself, it would usually display a window showing you the result. So if you wanted to scan a lot of things at once, or just look through your CDs or boxes that you previously labeled, you would have to exit this window every time and aim again at the CD and have it scanned and read it again and go back. Now they introduced an automatic reading mode where whenever it comes across a known barcode, it will automatically read what's assigned to it in your database. So this is quite handy for quickly recognizing. And the thing that is already official on iOS is that they also introduced text recognition. And they made their own engine for this, which works offline. And it's pretty accurate. From what I heard, I will soon hopefully be able to test it out as well. But I already heard a lot of feedback from people who tried it. And the particular thing about this is that it consists of 3 modes. There is the regular mode, the full text mode. There is a smaller surface mode, and there is micro mode. And the goal here is that the lens of the recognition, the spectrum, is smaller and smaller depending on the mode that you turn on. So if you would like to read a box of what is on the box of a certain product, or food or drink, the first mode will be the best. And then the smaller the thing is, the smaller you go with your settings. So if you would like to read something out of an LCD display, the micro is probably the best. And I already saw it being a problem even with Seeing AI, that I have, for example, a radio which shows the frequency I'm on at the moment. But whenever I'm trying to read it and I'm pointing at the display, it also sees all the buttons around. So it starts reading the logo.
That's the issue with the Envision as well. If you try to read something, then it will read all the things which it's catching on the display. So yeah.
Yes, exactly. So therefore, these modes are a really nice addition, and apparently it also copes well with handwriting and with quite colorful background for the writing, so like CD covers and so on, and really unusual fonts. So I'm really looking forward to try it out. But if you would like to do it right now, you can download Seeing Assistant Home from the App Store and give it a go, basically. So good luck, and hopefully this will help. And I'm really looking forward to what they come up with in the future.
Yeah, the only thing what I'm wondering is who is still using the CDs for the CD covers. But anyway.
Well, if you value your collection and you bought it yourself, I guess there are people who do.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there are no people who do, but I know that personally I don't have the PC with the CD player for.
Yes, in here actually.
For a long time, man.
No, but I have them plenty at home, but I didn't listen none of them for centuries. So
yeah.
Exactly. But well, if anyone needs that, there it is.
Yeah, it was an example.
Right.
Okay. Then the next topic that I would like to talk is the WebAIM Screen Reader Survey number 8. Unfortunately, the number of responses is lower compared to the previous years, but still, I think it's an interesting survey to consider when taking into account screen reader users and browsers and combinations with browsers and operating systems and screen readers. So what is interesting this year is that NVDA is the most used screen reader according to the survey. Of course, we cannot assume that these are all screen reader users, because we have this year 1,224, I think, responses, valid responses. And also this year there were much more responses from other regions.
Europe is much more popular this year than it used to be.
Yes, because half of the responses are from North America, but the rest is from other regions like Europe, Asia, and others. But before, this was much less.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, NVDA is very close to JAWS in percentages. So it says 40.6% of users use NVDA as their main screen reader, and JAWS 40.1 as then their main screen reader.
Yeah,
and
there was another
12.9, which is quite interesting, I would say. Yes.
Yeah, there was another part of the survey where the question was like, how many times do you use your primary screen reader, and which one would it be?
Mm-hmm.
And that one was even more interesting because NVDA was on like 70% or 71 point something,
Mm-hmm.
and JAWS was like 10% lower.
Mm-hmm.
And well, that shows up something. That shows up that NVDA as a product has matured a lot, and that's the fact that we can see also in the summary of the survey, because they said that like since the survey is running since 2009, the NVDA started with like usage of the 3%, and it jumped to the like 40% in total, or the 70% when you would have to use your screen reader of choice. What would that be?
Mm-hmm.
So that was really interesting. There's also significant rise of the narrator usage as well. Mm-hmm. So we can see that people are trusting Microsoft and the changes they are doing in the narrator, which is basically tied to the Windows 10 releases.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a good thing. However, yeah, we can see that JAWS is having a downfall in terms of users who are using it.
But
And
I think it is important that we have a choice, that we do not rely only on one screen reader, but we have a choice, and then depends what we prefer, and also that we have a free option like NVDA.
Sure.
Which it is not possible for anyone to buy an expensive screen reader.
Mm-hmm.
What is interesting for me, sorry, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just quickly.
Okay.
I think it's the second survey since Windows Eyes is no more developed, and it's interesting also to see that probably the percentage rise comes from the fact that people who used Windows Eyes before had to migrate somewhere.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting what choices they made, I guess. Some probably went for JAWS, but I guess a lot also went for NVDA. And this is also interesting.
Yes.
Well, actually, I mean, there is lots of what we can see from the data that was posted in this survey is that there are many more new users of NVDA in the States. So I mean, why I'm saying this is because NVDA is covering more than 40 languages now, for about 50 in total, but the overall number of users in the States increased a lot for NVDA, which is nice. That's really good to see.
Yeah. What is interesting to me is also the usage of browsers. According to this survey, 44% of users prefer to use Google Chrome as their main browser.
Mm-hmm.
Firefox fall on 27% only, according to the survey. And before, also for me, Firefox was the main browser, but now I'm using it more rarely. Maybe I'm using it for some websites where Firefox is displaying them more correctly.
Yeah.
But what was interesting to me is that still 11% of users prefer to use Internet Explorer and 1% Microsoft Edge.
Well, yeah, I know one guy who is still using Internet Explorer, but
but I guess
I know a person as well. It's a matter of if you had something for years, you just keep it.
Yes.
And as long as it works and it doesn't tell you I'm not working anymore, they'll be fine with it. It opens sites.
But the fact is that there are more and more websites which are not compatible anymore with the IE, so you're forced to use something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. But this is probably because people are used to use Internet Explorer.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, for example, in the next survey, the number of people who will use Microsoft Edge will increase because the
Yes,
new
for
release
sure.
of Edge, because the new release of Edge will be Chromium based. So basically, it will be more or less the same experience if you would use the Edge or Chrome. So
Yes.
yeah,
And at a certain point, you have to abandon Internet Explorer. JAWS Public Beta 2020 was published in September, and there are some interesting functionalities that were improved and updated, like the OCR engine will support more languages, and also the JAWS cursor will be now scan cursor, which means that it will work in a different way. But for users, we should have much more information.
yeah. I still didn't try the beta, and I will not personally taste the beta. Just because I like to have stable releases on my machine, so I will wait until the official release comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is okay, that they are improving the stuff, but overall, I have to say that I'm not really too much convinced with the 2020 release, because I see it more as a bug fix than the introduction of many new features.
But what is sure that they will certainly introduce some updates in the first release, which is coming at the end of October, but also during the later releases, like in December and after, they will surely introduce new improvements and new updates.
Yeah,
I guess we can
probably
expect.
they will, but as I said, I see it more as like more bug fixes in the new version than a bunch of new features. But okay, I mean,
what I also noticed is that I think they're realizing also that JAWS will become more of this professional screen reader for like workplace application with some advanced customization options and so on. Because already in the changelog we can see enhancements based on the feedback of our users, and in some changelogs in the past already we could see that on the request of one of our users we fixed a bug that appeared in a certain context in a certain app. So they see that they will be better off tailoring more towards individual users' needs who actually have needs related to their workplace, to their study, to some unusual use cases. Because that will be their strength, probably their market strength. They will be like having this tailored experience for the unusual use cases. So there is that. And also I see they pay attention to the details. So while NVDA is focusing on complying with standards, on following standards, so that everything, like assuming that we're in this ideal world where everything is accessible, here there are some bugs that are noticed even with the standards. So for example, I'm looking at this double speaking of forms. So I guess the ideal thing to do would be to somehow instruct the web developers to tell them, please use different things for like the hint at the form and the label at the form are two different things. And what we'll just do, will compare these two and basically silence the one that is obsolete. So we'll do sort of the work of the developer for the user, which makes it like faster and easier to use the web. On the other hand, there are the standards which should be also included and employed by the web developers. So we have these two, I see, schools of what should be followed and what's the most important thing.
Yes, I fully agree. And with this feature, they will just fix something that was not done correctly according to the standards.
So speaking of JAWS, we all know that one of the famous voices which all of us used is the Eloquence voice, and the Eloquence voice got, let's say, ported to the other platforms, and one of them was the Android platform. We had the Eloquence for Android for about last 5 to 6 years, but eventually it has come to an end, from what we could find out from one of the emails from the Code Factory. Basically, the problem which appeared was that the Code Factory, which was doing the work for the Eloquence for Android, was not able to purchase the rights for updating the Eloquence to the 64-bit versions. So basically, they're abandoning the app, the further development of the app, basically. Which means that from what I understood is that the current users will still be able to use it, but there are not going to be new releases for the Eloquence. And basically, Code Factory is saying that the Eloquence for Windows, which is possible to purchase as the NVDA add-on, will still work. So it will be still possible to purchase it and to buy it. The only thing is that the version for the Android is slowly going away, which is it's kind of sad. I have to say that for a long time on my Android device, Eloquence was the fastest and the most responsive TTS that I used. However, for the last few months, I switched over to the vocalizer voices, and I have to say that I'm pretty happy with those for the moment. So yes. And speaking of the TTS updates, I don't know, Pavel, if you noticed it, but there was just a few days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, there was a update for the Google TTS.
Oh yes.
And what I found out is that they finally worked out on the response time. So now I am able to use my phone quite happily with the Google TTS if I want, and the phone will not have a very slow response time. It will be almost as responsible as the vocalizer's voices. This is really cool to see that it works now.
I'll have to try it out. Actually, I'm wondering how they achieved this, because from what I understood, the lack of response that we would wish for came from the fact it was trying to process on the spot everything that it read so it would read it correctly, based on some definitions in the cloud and what other users type in and so on. So it tried to do this AI sort of analysis of every single string you threw at it. And therefore, for example, Polish voices always tried to speak really proper English, and it came out really funny sometimes. But I'm wondering what they did this time to reduce this, but I have to try it out. One thing that I noticed with some friends for sure is there was a critical bug in the update before, whereas if you turned on your phone and you were for some reason out of internet access, so you had no Wi-Fi and your SIM card was locked with a PIN, you would receive silence simply because for some reason this update couldn't access the partition of data on your smartphone, so it wouldn't access the data you've just downloaded, and it tried to stream from the cloud as a backup, and it would work if you had Wi-Fi or if your SIM was PIN-free, but if you were out of Wi-Fi and on PIN, you would have silence until you unlocked your phone, and now they fixed it, so it's good that they did.
Yeah. I know that also they rearranged some voices. So basically what we can see, for example, in the English voices is they started introducing some of the voices basically taken from the Google Assistant, and
yes, we have it too.
They're now integrating them into the Google TTS, which is cool. They're like kind of sampled down a little bit, so the sample rate is not the same as you would listen to the Google Assistant, but it still sounds very usable to me. It's not crackling, so that's good.
Yeah, so it means probably that you can also, I would have to check it just to be curious, you can use the John Legend voice that they introduced at some point.
Not yet.
Not yet?
Okay. No, not yet. I mean, you cannot use it as the TTS voice where the screen reader would speak everything on your phone. But what you can do right now, and that's a new feature, is that you can use the Google Assistant voices for the Google Maps navigation, which was not possible before.
Oh, that's great. The one update I'm also happy about from Google related to speech recognition, actually, is that finally in Polish we can dictate. I spoke about it, I think, 2 months ago or so, that we couldn't dictate the punctuation, and now we can. So we are all really happy here, and it even is clever enough that it recognizes from your intonation, from your way of expression, if you actually mean this punctuation mark or you actually want to have the word insert. So depending on how you structure your speech in the sentence, it will detect this and it will place what you need. And it works most of the time. So I'm really happy, and it's definitely a great improvement. Hopefully the languages that don't have it yet will support it in the near future.
Okay, that's cool.
The next topic I would like to talk is the Web Accessibility Directive. The Web Accessibility Directive applies starting from the 23rd of September this year, which means that public sector need to comply with accessibility standards. So they need to have accessible websites and electronic documents compliant with accessibility standards. The EDF, European Disability Forum, published a survey collecting data from users whether the websites are accessible in their countries or not. So we fully support this survey, and I think it's great to submit comments to the survey.
Yeah.
And personally, I didn't notice much differences before the 23rd and after the 23rd of September. So I think it's great to take this opportunity and to comment all the issues that you might have with websites of public sector, and to raise this issue, as it is quite important. We should not be ignored.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a deadline for that survey, or it's like ongoing for a certain amount of time?
I don't know.
Okay. Because I didn't find anything, so it's probably...
I didn't see the deadline, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
probably
want to
now
say.
it's something that will stay for a while.
I guess.
Okay.
Okay.
That's cool. So if you want to go and report what's the usability of and accessibility of your websites in your countries, we will have the link for that in the show notes. So go and submit the data for the survey.
So a recent innovation is also quite interesting, developed in Vienna by an IT team interested in accessibility. They came up with a Bluetooth-enabled Braille keyboard that you can attach at the back of your smartphone, so you don't have to carry a second device. But the interesting thing here is that you will have to print it out yourself. There are plans how to do it on their wiki, and there is also all the software and source code that you can compile and flash onto a microcontroller, so you can purchase all the parts at your convenience at the price that you're satisfied with. If you have the knowledge or know somebody who does, you can put it together, flash the software, and attach the keyboard, and you can type on it without really carrying a second device. Or if you don't, if you are not satisfied with the Braille screen input of your operating system, you can use this. What you will need is a 3D printer to print out the keys, and a CNC plate that you probably need to mount all these things together, and the microcontroller. I guess something like Arduino will do for this purpose. Mm-hmm. It has to be Bluetooth enabled, or it has to have the PSP32 connector, and because you can also plug it in via USB-C, I guess.
Yeah.
And the thing is called Oscar Concertina is the model that is currently published, and everyone is encouraged to try their powers at producing their own Oscar Concertina. So if you manage to do that, let us know if it works and how it works. I'm personally trying to inquire where I could obtain the help needed to get it going. But if I have anything, I will definitely update you all in following episodes whenever it will be possible. But I think the concept is interesting in that it's you who decides on the price, it's you who decides on certain aspects, probably how it is going to look like, or if it's going to be somehow decorated or not, or what parts you will use. And the thing is there for you to mount yourself if you have the knowledge. The problem is the knowledge. Maybe you don't know anybody who is capable of putting this together, or you can't do it yourself. But yes,
it's definitely not the project to do it like do yourself at home. So
yes,
yeah,
that's for sure. But it's an interesting concept, which I think could change a bit the market of assistive technology, which was usually considered to be rather expensive, and there were many questions by people whether the cost of the product actually justifies the quality and so on. If the cost of production perhaps are just a quarter or a percentage or a small part of the cost that you pay as an end customer. So now you can definitely experience this. Maybe at some point we will see, I don't know, do-it-yourself Braille displays that you have to assemble from 3D models. It would be interesting as well. But at any rate, Oscar is there.
Yeah, I mean, as a concept, it sounds really interesting. I mean, now the girls can print out their pink keyboards if they want, for instance. But I think that it's a good idea, especially because I know that there is a bunch of people who cannot get used to the typing on the touchscreen. Whatever you try to tell them and give them the instructions, the people are not getting how to type. And eventually, I mean, it's true. If you're typing on the physical keyboard, you are much faster. So yeah, the only thing is that, well, you have to find somebody who has enough skills to assemble these kind of things. But yeah, I would say that in total, the most difficult thing is to get this appropriate CNC board, which is basically taking the shape of your phone which you have, and to find somebody who owns a 3D printer to print out all the buttons and such. But yeah, overall the concept sounds quite interesting, yes.
So Google Maps is also working to make our lives easier. Some time ago on the ICE3 mailing list, we could see a proposal to join their research program. If you were living somewhere in the States, you could actually come and meet them and take part in the research, answer some surveys, and it was about improving Google Maps. And, well, I think it's about time, because if the companies are making their things accessible, like their operating system and products, then they could also invest in making our lives more independent, having already the tools, but with just some slight improvements. And this time it's the maps. And what we will see in the future, because for now it's available only in the US and Japan, is an ICE-free walking mode for the Google Maps, which generates more frequent voice updates for the voice guidance, alerts you to the crossings that you have to take, and if they are especially big ones like 3 or 4 lane crossings, it will notify you about this. It will tell you to cross with caution, and also you will be notified. I think the frequency is 10 seconds per one message. It will tell you every 10 seconds that in this and that amount of meters, heading this and that direction, you will face a turn that you have to take. It will also tell you if you're going right or wrong. So if you get off the road, it will tell you that you're going to be redirected. If you're going right, it will also tell you. So I think for especially beginners with navigation, but not only, it's reassuring to be told every now and again that you're still right, carry on. So we will have this rolling out hopefully to the next countries in the near future.
Yeah, actually, this news came out like 2 days ago because there was a World Sight Day, and they launched it first to be this feature to be able to. They launched this feature first for US and Japan, and they are saying, I was just watching Twitter recently, and it seems that this feature is something that many people wanted to have for a long time, which is great. And there are multiple questions from all the users like, when is this coming to the rest of the world? So it is coming, we don't know when. There will be a link for that in our show notes, and eventually I checked out my Google Maps to see whether I have the option to turn this voice guidance on or off, but it's still not here in my application, so I cannot, in my version of Google Maps, I cannot do anything to enable that feature, but I'm sure that it will arrive in the future updates. But yeah, this is something I personally, as a user of various applications for navigations on the phone, that was something that was missing on the Google Maps when you would use them in the walking mode. So definitely, if you would use them for walking, Google was not saying enough information, like the maps were not presenting enough information, like how to where do you need to go and which street comes and what crossings do you have, and etc. etc. So that's good. What I however noticed is that Google Maps right now is giving much more instructions if you are using it in the transit mode. So for example, when you're using the public transport such as buses or trains, now this voice guidance is speaking much more information than it used to speak before. and that's really nice. So, for example, you can use it like with in conjunction with the other apps. So you can like pair the Google Maps and the Move It app in the same time, and it works quite nice. Or you can use the Google Maps with the Lazarillo GPS as well for the public transport, and it will work quite nicely. So that's good.
Yeah, that's great. The only thing I was wondering is whether, for example, the feature will be somehow configurable, because some people prefer different frequencies of the messages or different details in them. It seems like it will be one switch only, so you either have it or you don't have it. And
well, maybe this will
explained,
be maybe this will be. I think that as more and more users will start to use it, they will start to submit feedback to Google, and
for sure.
I think that this might change in the future. So they would just add the feature where you would be able to change the frequency of the refreshing time for the speaking announcements. But yeah.
Yeah, this, and also what wasn't explained in the film is in the video that they attached, whether there is a way for a blind user to tell, because that was always one of the problems for me, whether the blind user is able to tell where to turn first. So you are told, okay, start heading south, and like I don't have a compass in my head, I usually use an external app for this. Can Google also make the compass accessible somehow, or have they already taken care of this? I guess we'll find out when it arrives.
Yeah. I know that for these kind of things, the Lazarillo is really good for that, because it's telling you automatically in which direction you're walking. So that's if you're using pairs with the Google Maps, that works.
Mm-hmm.
Since we are speaking about the applications for GPS navigations, there was a recent announcement from the APH, who is developing the Nearby Explorer app, that basically all the features which were done in the full version of the Nearby Explorer application are going to be free from now on, and they will arrive in the Nearby Explorer online application. And one of the reasons for that is because they stopped the updates for the US and Canada for the full version of the Nearby Explorer, which was for the US and Canada, because they used the maps from the Navteq before, and they're not using the maps from them anymore. They switched to the OpenStreetMaps, which are free. So basically, right now the application should be working in the future as the complete version of the Nearby Explorer. That's what we have to see. I just checked the app today, and you can see a bunch of features. There will be a link for the manual of the application in our show notes, how to use it. And there are tons of nice features which we can use. But one of the things which is still not available in the free version is the option to use the application for navigation. So right now you can you can use the application when you are walking around. It will tell you what places do you have. You can put some of the places that you want directly on the OpenStreetMap, which is a good feature. And it's gonna tell you all different kind of information. You can even virtually explore and go to the place to see where do you need to go and which streets do you have around and stuff like that. But what we still don't have is the direct navigational mode, and I think this is something what's coming in the future for that. I don't know, Pavel, have you tested the app?
A long time ago, I must say, but back then it was actually just, as you said, announcing the places nearby and showing you what's there. Yeah. And that was it. So I think not much has changed since then, and we'll have to wait for the full rollout of the new features.
Mm-hmm. There was the update yesterday, but there were just some few bug fixes, and right now we have to wait for the new version to be released. But overall, it's a good thing.
And it will be good to have another option to use for navigation.
Sure.
Sometimes you're wondering which one is better in which occasion, situations, and which maps covers better a certain area and so on. So it will be good to have another option with different functionalities.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I was really surprised to see this information because from what I heard from the different users is that basically OpenStreetMaps are much more covered in Europe than in the States. So I was surprised to see that they switched they switch it to that even for the States, but maybe right now somebody is working on lots of mapping for the States, so you might see some improvements as well. Yeah.
We will see for the Europe.
Well, I already saw, for example, today when I was checking it out here that it could see lots of places around, even more than the Google Maps can see. So that was good. That was a good sign. Maybe it's just this part of Luxembourg that's mapped correctly. But I was able to see really, really many things which I even didn't know that they're around in like few hundred meters. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, exactly. So it really depends also on the area where you might live and which is covered better in a specific area. Okay, and the last topic for today is Braille Uno. I know that we have somebody here who knows how to play Uno.
Yes, and that would be me. Actually, Uno is quite a popular game. I think it originated in the States, but recently blind people have a lot of opportunity to play it, both on the RS Games platform and the Quentin C Playroom. But also, there have been in the past, I think, many ways to purchase a Braille set of Uno cards. I have one here at home. There was a time when an association in Poland would sell that stuff. But there were also recently some attempts, and one is with the Mattel Games Company and the NFB. They offer a new set of cards that you can purchase online, along with the reference cards and well, this you don't have to purchase, but you can install it on your Alexa, on your Echo speaker or Google Home, the skill to instruct you how to play. So you can play against the computer with all the explanations that you need how to actually play the game. Yeah. The manual that is attached, strangely enough, is just in black print, so there is no accessible version from what I read on the Mattel Games website. But basically, the rules are this. Each player has 7 cards. The card has both a number and a color. So, for example, there is yellow, red, I think blue and green. And these are numbers from 1 to 9. And what you have to do is you have to get rid of all of the cards you have in your hand by putting them away when it's your turn. But you can only put away a card that is either the number or the color of the last card that was put by the player before you. So if somebody put a yellow 3, you can only put a yellow card or a free card. And there are some special cards to that, like a wild card that allows you to change the color to any color you want, or you can give your opponent some more cards in their hand, so you make their life harder that way. And there are all the different rules which you can read about, but basically the goal is to win the game by throwing all the cards away, and when you're left with no cards, you are the winner of the round. So this is the aim of Uno. And of course, if the Uno, so it's from Spanish 1, because if you have one card in your hand only, you have to say Uno. If you forget and don't do it, then another player can catch you, and you will have to draw 2 cards as a punishment.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's quite fun, I must say. If you have a circle of friends and you would like to play something that is quite easy but quite competitive, it's definitely a nice recommendation.
Yeah, and I have to say I tried before to activate this skill on my Google Home, and it explained the basic instructions how to play Uno, even though I don't have the cards. But I wanted to check how it works on Google Home.
Yeah, it seems to be working.
This was our last topic. And before ending this show, I would like to announce that Pavel will do the demo for the advanced Braille keyboard on Android. So stay with us. And if you want to contact us, if you want to give us feedback or comment, you can contact us via Twitter or email. And talk to you next time in November.
Yeah. See you.
Take care. See you. Goodbye.
Demo time. Time for a demonstration.
Hello. I will try to demonstrate the advanced Braille keyboard, the newest Braille screen input method released for Android a couple of months ago. It is special in that it has some features that no keyboards before have had, and also it is being developed at the moment, which means that we can expect any bug fixes, feature requests to be filled in, and other improvements that will not come in keyboards that exist but are not currently being maintained. So what is Advanced Braille Keyboard exactly and how does it differ? It's an app on the Play Store like any other. It costs around €2.50 and you can get it off the Play Store right now, which means you don't need to look for APK files anywhere on the internet. What are the special features? Well, apart from typing on a screen as you usually could, the keyboard offers also a great variety of languages, both with Leap Lewis and without, using the built-in Braille engine of the app. And it has also features like abbreviations editor, which means that you can enter any abbreviation, such as BTW for by the way, and the keyboard will expand it automatically when you perform a gesture. It lets you customize the layout of the dots in many different ways. You can even manually assign each dot to each spot. It has one-handed mode and many others. So I will try to show you quite shortly how the most important features of the app work, and yeah, we will see how this performs in action. And it's quite nice, I must say. So let's go.
Device unlocked. 7:54 p.m. Advanced Braille keyboard. Switch to Braille keyboard button.
So this is the main interface of the app. As you open it, you will see all these options. The first one is activating the keyboard.
Enable Braille keyboard button.
That's the one where you authorize the keyboard to be available as your input method.
Switch to Braille keyboard button.
This one lets you switch from your existing keyboard to Advanced Braille keyboard. That's the button we were focused on at the beginning.
Set up Bluetooth keyboard button.
This one is for setting up Bluetooth keyboard, because one of the features as well is the ability to use a regular Bluetooth keyboard for Braille input, which I will explain when we go to the settings.
Settings button.
These are the settings that we'll go into in the first place.
User guide button.
This is the user guide. You can read it either here or at advanced-braille-keyboard.blogspot.com. There you can read about all the features and have a detailed overview of the gestures, dotting patterns of the keyboard.
Advanced options button.
Here are some advanced options such as Map Viewer, which lets you preview what your currently selected Braille table assigned for each dotting pattern, so you can have a guidance when you're not sure.
Type to test settings, edit box.
This is the test box that is used for testing how the keyboard works. We will use this one for practice. And that's it. So my suggestion is that we'll go to the settings first, because, well, when we install it for the first time, I think the wise idea is to set everything up before we go.
Settings. Set up Bluetooth key. Settings button. Settings. Languages.
So the first option is languages, and here we can configure all the options related to the languages we need available on the keyboard.
Languages. Select Braille engine in list 4 items.
First is to select the Braille engine. Until recently there was only one engine, the built-in engine of Advanced Braille keyboard. As of recently we have Leap Lewis as well, but since it's an early beta there are still errors in the tables, and I'm for now using also the built-in in order to show you some of the features that still are only available in the old engine.
Braille engine.
We can choose it here.
Alert cancel. Lib Lewis. Checked ABK built-in.
So you can see that I have the default one checked.
Lib Lewis.
And this is the Leap Lewis, the one that you probably know and that has the most tables.
Cancel button. Language. Set built-in engine languages.
Set default engine languages.
Set Lib Lewis engine languages.
And set Leap Lewis engine languages. So whatever engine you use, you pick the right option for you. I'll pick the default engine ones.
Set built-in engine languages. Set built-in engine languages. Default language.
Here we choose the language that will be automatically loaded when we start the keyboard. For me it's Polish, I guess, because that's my native language, so I use it the most.
Alert cancel. Serbian. Russian. Romanian. Portuguese. Brazil. Portuguese. Czech. Polish.
Yeah, it's checked. So it means that, Polish is selected.
Tick the required languages given below.
And here we can tick the languages that we need on the spot. So if you use multiple languages, you can choose the ones you need here.
Arabic, not checked, checkbox. Bengali, Bangladesh, not checked, checkbox.
Yeah, as you can see, there are all the languages here. We can just check the ones that we need. I have a couple set here.
Languages. Set Libnui's engine languages. Settings. Languages. Braille.
These are the settings of some of the Braille functionalities.
Braille. Simple mode. Simplified Braille for kids and beginners by avoiding contractions and abbreviations. Checked checkbox. In list 7 items.
So this is a special mode for beginners where contractions and abbreviations don't work. I have it checked for some reason. I will uncheck it.
Not checked. One hand mode. Type using one hand by separating Braille combination to first and second half. First 1, 2, 3 turns to 4, 5, 6. Not checked. Checkbox.
This is the one-handed mode that I told you about. I will try to demo it, although from what I've seen, it's quite unstable for the moment. Basically, the principle is that at the bottom of your screen, close to your touch buttons, so home, back, and recent apps, there are the dots 1, 2, 3, and a field to skip. The way it works is that first the dots 1, 2, 3 are active. Once you press them, they turn to 4, 5, 6. So, for instance, if you want to type the letter X, you would use 1, 3 for the first part, the 1, 2, 3 part, and then 4, 6, so once again 1, 3 in the same places for the 4, 5, 6 part. So that's how it works, and if you want to type something that just requires the left, so 1, 2, 3, or just the right, so 4, 5, 6, you skip either at the beginning or at the end. So if you want to type the letter K, you do 1, 3, skip, and skip is the empty area next to 1, 2, 3 on the right or on the left. And if you would like to do the combination 4, 5, 6, for example, you first skip and then you press 4, 5, 6. So that's basically how it works. I will demo it in detail in a second.
Conventional Braille mode. Follow same rules of Braille instead of Unicode-based checked checkbox.
To be honest, I am not sure how this feature works exactly, but you just heard what it does. So if you are more expert than me at this, then you probably know what this actually does.
Space to expand abbreviation. Checked checkbox.
Yeah, so in this mode, if we type in an abbreviation
WhatsApp, checking for new
or
messages.
something that is considered to be an abbreviation, we will just put a space. And well, there we go. We will basically have an abbreviation insert.
Auto insert space after abbreviation. Checked checkbox.
This means that if we enter abbreviation, it's the other way around. The space will be inserted automatically. So if we assume that the abbreviation is a word or a set of words, we can make it automatically insert a space because, well, after a word we put a space. So that's how it works.
Capitalize first character of sentence. Checked checkbox.
And this is the capitalization of the first sentence, of the first word in sentence.
Capitalize first character of line. Not checked checkbox.
Same for line. And that's it here.
Settings. Braille screen input.
Now this is related to how you put your hands on the screen for typing Braille, so let's take a look inside.
Braille screen input. General, in list 23 Braille screen type, change the way of arranging buttons representing dots.
Yeah, that's the one that you will probably like to set up as first. This is how you will put your hands on the screen, where the dots will be located and so on.
Alert cancel. 2 hand screen. Laptop 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 6.
This is your tabletop or tablet mode, where you put your phone in front of your face or in front of you on the table. You hold your hands side by side and you calibrate to have it across your screen from the bottom, as in the charging port and your navigational buttons, to the top, as in the earpiece, in the order of 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 6, and you just keep your hand side by side as if it were a laptop and you just type on it. That's more for stationary use.
2 hand screen outward.
This is what I usually use, and this is for mobile usage. This is the one which I think on iOS Braille screen input is called face away mode. This is the one where you actually hold your phone on the two sides. You squeeze it between your small finger and your thumb, And the left palm of your hand, so the left hand, covers the charging USB-C port and the loudspeaker of your phone. And the right palm of your hand covers the headphones port. So that's where you actually hold it. And then the remaining fingers are spread across the screen from left to right. The left hand has the dots 3 under your ring finger, 2 under your middle finger, and 1 under your index finger. So beginning from the left side of your phone screen to the right. And analogically, in your right hand, index finger goes for 4 dot. Dot 5 is under middle and dot 6 is under ring. So this is the one I usually use, and I will be probably using it as I present to you.
Automatic.
Automatic can do both, so you calibrate for both layouts, and depending on the layout of your phone, if it's horizontal or vertical, you will have all the layout you need loaded for you.
Checked manual.
And manual, which I use, this is the one where you decide by recalibrating where your dots should be. I will demonstrate how to calibrate this. For all the remaining layouts, you just drag 6 fingers on the screen towards you. So for your left hand it would be left, and for the right hand it would be right. And the dots will be assigned. In manual it looks a bit differently. I will show you in a sec how it goes.
Back button, out of list. Braille screen input. Command hold delay, change milliseconds to become combination to command.
This is for special commands that you perform by holding down the patterns that you use for letters. So for example, for the letter C, if you hold down the dots 1 and 4, you will actually delete a word. And here you define what is the delay in milliseconds before a touch will be recognized as a hold command and it will be executed and not entered as a letter.
Transparency, change Braille screen transparency to view written text.
This is the transparency of your text, so if you make it less transparent, then the sighted people who look at your screen will see less of what you've written, or will see it less clearly, and if you put more will be visible.
Play letter typing sound, checked checkbox.
This is for all the whistles and bells that you hear from the keyboard. We will hear some more, I guess.
Invert gesture direction, checked checkbox.
This is useful when you realize that after calibrating your keyboard, the gestures don't work in the direction you suppose they would. So for example, if you're used to space being swiping a finger to the right, and you realize it's left, you can use this checkbox to revert it, to make it work the other way around. It's as useful when you're turning your phone sideways and you don't like the gestures and the direction they go.
Speech. Speech checked checkbox.
This decides whether you need a speech synthesizer feedback when you're typing or any feedback from the synthesizer. This is useful because we have to turn off TalkBack, of course, when we type.
Text-to-speech engine.
Here we can choose the TTS that we want.
Echo by character, checked checkbox.
This decides if we need an echo of what we type, of all the letters or not.
Speak password, checked checkbox.
This is for speaking passwords.
Always announce welcome message, not checked checkbox.
And this is for all the welcome to the Advanced Braille keyboard messages that you get when you open.
Following are the options to change dots representing special commands.
And here we can configure these commands I told you. These are the commands that I told you about. So the ones for holding down. And here we have
capital, capital, abbreviation, send, map switcher, space, punctuation, enter, language switcher, letter deletion, word deletion.
So as you saw, these are the options that we can assign to the hold down commands. There is the punctuation mode, which is quite interesting because in Advanced Braille keyboard, although some basic punctuation is included in your Braille table, in order to take advantage of all the punctuation characters you have to switch on the punctuation mode, at least in the conventional ABK engine. For LibLouis this is different. LibLouis uses its own tables, so there the punctuation is already integrated into the tables. However, in the default ones, it works a bit like your key on the Gboard or any other QWERTY software keyboard that you might be using, where you have to switch into a different mode to get your numbers and punctuation. Actually, numbers are also present in this mode. So let me go back
Settings. Braille screen input in list 6 items.
And there we can decide, of course, in the command section, which dot held down will be performing which command. So if you don't like the default settings, you can always change it.
Physical keyboard.
This is for the physical keyboard for the Bluetooth. So let's go in.
Physical keyboard. Following are the options to change physical keys representing dots or special commands. Keyboard configuration. Change layout of keys representing dots.
This is where we can set which keys of the keyboard will be used for which letters. We can use FDSJKL, so F1, D2, S3, J4, K5, L6. Then we have SDFJKL, I think. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for everyone there is an option. Let's go inside.
Alert cancel. S1, D2, F3, J4, K5, L6. R1, E2, W3, U4, I5, O6.
And there is also QWEUIO.
1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6. Cancel button out of R1, S1. Checked F1, D2, S3, J4, K5, L6.
Yeah, so as I said, there is also the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and different combinations with FDSJKL. So we can use these keys on a Bluetooth keyboard to emulate Braille dots.
Physical keyboard. Following are the options to dot 1, dot 2, dot 3.
And here we can change which letters on the keyboard do what exactly in this mode.
Alert S. Cancel button.
So even if you don't like
Dot
the
3 in list 17 items.
even if you don't like the settings that you have proposed there, you can customize all the dots to be under different keys. So let's see what more can we do.
Dot 4, dot 5, dot 6, dot 7, dot 8. Abbreviation key. Capital key. Language switching key. Letter deletion key. Map switching key. One hand skip key. Punctuation key.
Yeah, so as you can hear, there is quite plenty of settings.
Back button. Settings. Advanced settings. Physical keyboard. Advanced settings.
And here are some advanced settings, and we will hear that.
Advanced settings. Change following options very carefully in list 3 items.
Yeah, exactly. So these are only to be used if something really doesn't work well. And these are...
Braille screen input gesture sensitivity. Change the discrimination between typing and swiping. An increase will prioritize swipe over typing.
Yeah, so if for some reason your typing is not recognized, or instead of typing you get some swipes or something else is not working in this area, you can control this here.
Braille screen input gesture drag length. Change minimum swipe length for recognizing gestures.
Yeah, and if your swiping is somehow not too sensitive and it's not recognized, you can also set the swiping length here. Maybe useful for some people using some unusual phones. You decide.
Back button. Settings. Advanced setting. Restore to default settings.
And here you can reset everything to defaults.
Back button. Advanced Braille keyboard. Enable Braille keyboard button.
So perhaps let's take a look if we can write on this keyboard. Just to remind you, I have set my keyboard to use the ABK built-in engine, manual calibration method. I'm not using one hand for the moment, and also it is English language. So let's see if we manage to get it going.
Type to test settings, edit box. Next. Keyboard shown. Please suspend screen reader polish loaded. End of field.
Yeah, so the keyboard is ready. I will suspend talkback.
Talkback off.
And now I will hold my phone in this position that I like. So both my hands are squeezing it by both ends at the top and at the bottom. And my palms are covering on one side the USB-C, on the other side the 3.5mm jack port. Now what I would like to do is calibrate the keyboard, of course, so that the dots are laid out exactly where I need them to be. And in order to do that in the manual mode, I will put 4 fingers on the screen and hold them down for a second or two. Now what is important here is that you first place your phone the way you want it and only then put the fingers, not the other way around, because then the positions get already prefixed and you might not be able to place the dots where you would like them to be. So let me try.
Assignment started. Touch one by one as you wish. Press dot 1.
So I will now press in the place where I need the dot 1 to be.
Touch dot 2. Touch dot 3. Touch dot 4. Touch dot 5. Touch dot 6. Dots assigned. Drag 4 fingers to reassign.
Exactly. So I have finished my assignment and now it is the way I would like it to be. And now let's try to type something.
T H I S.
And now I wrote this. If I want to do space, the command is to swipe right on dot 4. So you probably know this gesture from Advanced Braille keyboard. Sorry, I mean soft Braille keyboard.
This.
If you used it.
I S is A T E S T dot.
Exactly. So I've managed to do that. Now I would like to delete, of course. So I do the same as in soft Braille keyboard for dot number 4 to the left.
Dot deleted. T deleted. S deleted. A deleted. T deleted.
What I could also do is hold down the letter B, like backspace. So dots 1 and 2, I hold them down for a bit.
Spacey deleted.
Yeah. So I deleted the character. And if I would like to delete an entire word, like A, I think this is what I have under my cursor right now, I will hold down the letter C. So dots 1 and 4.
A deleted.
And there are many more commands like this. On one hand you have this hold down commands that I've just shown. On the other hand you have the dot swipes. For instance, if we swipe dot 1 to the right, I think I will be switching languages.
Spanish loaded. Russian loaded. German loaded. French loaded. Numerical loaded. English loaded. Polish loaded.
As you could hear, I found something called numerical. In Advanced Braille keyboard, the old engine, the built-in one, the numbers are also a separate language in a way, because you can use the full Nemeth mathematical notation if you have a need for that. But if you would like to use numbers and punctuation, because as you could hear, I could use the dot, I can probably use a comma, I can probably use a
semicolon,
and a colon.
colon.
But if I would like to do a quotation mark,
comma, semicolon, colon.
This will not work, as you can hear. It's trying to insert some space or do something different. What I need to do is drag the dot 5 to my left, so away from me.
Punctuation on.
I'm in a punctuation mode right now, and the next character I type will be from the punctuation or digits. So if I do the quotation,
quote.
Yeah, you have it here. And then I do need to do again punctuation again.
Punctuation on.
To type the next thing, let's say I want number 7.
7.
So I'll just do 1, 2, 4, 5, and that's it. If I need to do it more, I can quickly move, or rather twice to the left with the dot 5.
Punctuation on. Punctuation lock on.
And this is punctuation lock, so a form of caps lock. And now everything I type until I release the lock will be in the digits and punctuation table. Of course, if I slide the dot 5 left again, I will release the lock.
Punctuation lock off.
Perfect. And, well, there is also dot 6 if you hold it down and type something.
A. Deleted.
I think we are doing the capital A. There are many more commands that are described in the manual. For instance, you have commands to navigate with the cursor through the text. Select it, copy, paste, cut, delete. You can switch between edit fields even, and do much more. So check out the Advanced Braille keyboard manual under the address given, and you will find all the gestures and letter combinations here. Now, what I would like to also show you is the one-hand mode, which is, well, interesting, I would say, although it is a bit slow from what I figured, and it's not always accurate, so I think it still needs some improvement. So in order to activate it, I'll go to the settings again.
Talk back on. Enable, switch, setup, settings button. Setting, Braille, Braille screen input.
And
Braille. Braille. One hand mode, type, checked.
I'll go back now.
Back button. Braille, back button. Advanced. Home, button. This is 7, edit box, type to test settings. Next. Keyboard shown. Please suspend screen reader polish loaded.
Okay.
Talk back off.
Now what you should do is drag your fingers down, 4 fingers, all except the thumb, and the keyboard will be calibrated. Now for me it already is, so I'll start typing straight away. The problem here is the thing is very unstable. It took me many tries to get it configured so it actually works. And, well, don't get discouraged with your first attempt. keep on trying. Actually, for me, it finally jumped in when I randomly put 3 fingers on the screen, then it made a beep and then it started working. So I think it's quite unstable yet and it needs a bit of improvement, but the principle itself is good, as you will see. So what I have now is an area at the bottom of the screen. It's closed by the touch buttons, by home, back and recent apps, which consists of 3 dots, 1, 2, 3, the 1 being at my ring finger, the 2 being at my middle and 3 being at my index. And then to the right and left there is the boundary of the keyboard, which acts as a skip button and as the area for some simple gestures. So what I will try and do is type a simple word like clock, just to show you how it works. So in order to type the word clock, we first need the letter C, which consists of dots 1 and 4. So what I will do now, I will type 1, then the row will switch over to function temporarily as 4, 5 and 6. So I will again tap where the 1 was before, because now the 4 will replace it. So we'll do it like this.
C.
Yeah. Then we need the L. So for L we need 1, 2, 3, because we don't need anything of 4, 5, 6. We'll just do 1, 2, 3, and then we'll touch the area to the right to signal to the keyboard that we have actually entered a character.
L.
Alright, now we need the letter O. So for this we will do first 1 and 3, and then we'll touch the dot 2, which will for the time being become the dot 5. 1, 3, 5.
O.
And then again 1 twice, because 1 and 4.
C.
And then K we can do by just tapping 1 and 3 and skipping.
U.
Oh.
U deleted. CLOC. Space. Spacey deleted. K.
Yeah, there we go. As you see, it doesn't work all of the time. It's rather unstable, but you can do what you need. You could hear that I was doing spaces and deletions. You do it by, so space, you drag your finger up on the area outside the keyboard, the one that vibrates.
Clock. Space.
Yeah, and if you want to delete the last character, you go down.
Clock. Spacey deleted, K deleted, C deleted, O deleted, L delete, C deleted.
So I deleted the entire word clock right now. All the gestures work here as expected, so if I want to change the language, I just swipe on the dot 3.
Spanish loaded.
Exactly. And theoretically also, if you hold down a dot, make a skip and hold another dot, you can simulate the swiping gestures involving many dots. And the whole commands should work here as well. So basically, if you follow the manual, you'll realize that all the gestures can be simulated also in this mode. So now, let me show you the abbreviations as the last feature that I will cover in this demo. It is also quite handy, so for that I will switch back to the conventional typing braille, the one that I usually use. Okay, I've done that. And now let's go to the advanced settings.
Switch to braille. Set up Bluetooth. Settings. User guide button. Advanced options button.
So this is basically the advanced options thing, not the one in the settings, but the one in the main interface.
Advanced braille keyboard. Map viewer. Join ABK's forum button. Map viewer button.
Here is the map viewer, so you can take a look at the dots in each table, what they do.
Join ABK's forum button.
This is the mailing list of Advanced Braille Keyboard, which I also recommend you to join should you have any feedback, questions or remarks.
Map abbreviation editor button.
And here is the abbreviation editor, so let me enter in.
Abbreviation editor. List.
The list is empty for now, so there is nothing in here.
Add button.
But I can press the add button.
Add abbreviation. Edit box. Edit box. Edit box. Okay, but cancel. Edit box.
For some reason the edit boxes are not labeled. The first one is for the abbreviated form, so I will type in here BTW.
Next. Keyboard shown. Please suspend screen reader polish loaded.
To follow up on my example from before.
Talk back off. B. T. W.
Perfect. Talk back on.
Talk back on. Edit box.
And I will type in here, by the way, so that the thing will get expanded every time I type it and perform the gesture.
Keyboard shown. Please suspend screen reader. Add abbreviation. Talk back off. B. Y. By. T. A. E. B. W. A. Y.
Alright. That's saved.
Talk back on. Okay, button. By the way, edit box. By the way, edit box.
It reads already, by the way, BTW is by the way in Google TTS, so you can't notice the difference, but it's there, believe me.
Okay, button. Abbreviation editor. Not checked by the way equals by the way, checkbox.
Okay.
Add button.
Yeah, if I checked this, it's not checked because I didn't check it for deletion, but if I checked it...
Not checked by... Checked. Add button. Remove button.
I could have removed it, but...
Import button.
Yeah, you can also import and export, so you can exchange this list with your friends. But now let's go back.
Advanced Braille keyboard. Abbreviation editor button. Join ABK's forum button. Advanced Braille keyboard. Edit box type. Next. Keyboard shown. Please suspend screen reader.
Okay,
Enter field.
some of what I've entered here still remained, so...
Talk back off.
We'll see.
QWOC.
Yeah, okay. Let's try to enter the abbreviation now.
B. T. W.
And now I will hold down the .1, which is the abbreviation expander.
By the way.
And there we are. Actually, I've just typed in a whole abbreviation. So for expressions that you use the most, this is the thing to do. Okay, thank you for listening to the demo, and I hope you found this app useful. Again, you can find it in the Play Store under the name Advanced Braille Keyboard. The cost is €2.50. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. This has been EBU Access Cast.